Hello folks, this is Tom Martin. This is my lottery strategy game, Decoding the Powerball guessing game. I'm picking my numbers for the drawing on March 3rd, 2018. I have 7 strategies with my game, Decoding the Powerball. So strategy number 1, the game card color code. Okay, so if you've never seen my videos before, what you're looking at is what I call the game card. This represents all 69 white ball numbers in the Powerball lottery. I really don't have anything for the Powerball itself. My goal is to get all 5 white balls correct and win the $2 million prize with the Power Play option. Okay, so first things first is I'm going to go to the Powerball homepage, and the 5 white winning numbers that just came up were the 12, 30, 59, 65, and 69. Again, I really don't care about the red ball. Okay, so what I do is I take those 5 white winning numbers and I put it at the top of this list. And then I take the last 3 drawings of numbers and I transfer these numbers over to the game card as red numbers. Then I'll do the same thing with orange, then green, blue, and purple. I have 5 different colors, one to represent each one of the 5 white winning Powerball numbers. So for this drawing here, I have 15 red numbers, 13 orange, 18 green, 10 blue, and 13 purple numbers. And the number of colors change with every single drawing. Okay, so over to the right, this 207, this represents how many color code drawings I kept track of so far. And these are the color code drawings, okay? So out of these 207 drawings, 111 have come up a 3-color combination. Okay, so this last drawing had a 3-color combination, okay? So you can see that there was 2 blue numbers, 2 orange, and a purple for 3 colors total. Okay, so 74 drawings have come up a 4-color combination. 19 drawings have come up a 2-color combination. And only 3 times out of 207 drawings have all 5 colors come up together. And never has it been just 1 color. Okay, so one of the strategies here is to try to guess what is going to be the next number of colors coming up in the next drawing, okay? So for me, I'm going to guess that it's going to be a 4, okay? So when I'm picking what I think will be the 5 white winning Powerball numbers, I want it to represent 4 colors, okay? So not 3 colors, not 2, not 5, but just 4 colors. Okay, so my overall strategy is to eliminate numbers. Okay, so when I look at the Powerball, there's 69 white ball numbers total. Only 5 numbers can come up as winners. So that means 64 numbers can't come up at all. Okay, so for me, I just think it should be easier to pick the numbers that won't be coming up than the 5 that actually do. Okay, so to help me eliminate numbers, I'm going to turn to the strategy of eliminating a color here. Okay, so again, since all 5 colors hardly ever come up together, the strategy is try to guess which one of these colors won't be coming up and eliminate that group of numbers off of the game card. Okay, so for this drawing here, I'm going to guess that no blue numbers will be coming up. Okay, so the reason why is because from this point down to this point, I just see a lot of blue numbers in between, okay? And plus, the last couple of drawings, the last 4 or 5 drawings, I've been guessing that no blue numbers will be coming up, and you can see that it's been burning me here, okay? So I'm just going to stick with it, probably until it misses, all right? I know it's going to miss at some point, but for this drawing here, I'm going to guess that no blue numbers will be coming up in the following lottery. Okay, so I'm going to eliminate these blue numbers off of the game card. Okay, so to speed things up, I'm going to scroll to the right. And this is what the game card looks like so far with no blue numbers to it. Okay, so when I block out a number like this, this means that I'm not even going to consider this number when I'm picking what I think will be the 5 white winning Powerball numbers. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm spending $3 on a Powerball ticket with the Power Play. Okay, so in other words, I'm betting $3 that none of these blue numbers will come up in the next drawing. Okay, so if I'm correct with my pick and none of these blue numbers come up, then I'm one step closer to that $2 million prize. Okay, so I'm off to the next strategy. Strategy number 2, the individual numbers. Okay, so what you're looking at here is what I call the individual numbers. Okay, and how this works is up at the very top is the master for each individual number. Okay, and over to the right here are the numbers that just barely came up in a lottery. Again, it was 12, 30, 59, 65, and 69. Okay, so that turns out to be a 4-group combination. Okay, so I'm going to reduce this down so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so what you're going to see here is 7 groups total. Okay, so group number 1 holds the numbers of 1 through 9, and then it's the teens, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. Again, for 7 groups total. Okay, so there's only 5 white winning Powerball numbers. Okay, so 2 of these groups won't be able to have a winning Powerball number to it. Okay, so the strategy is try to guess which one of these groups won't have the winning Powerball number to it and eliminate that group of numbers off of the game card. Okay, so how this works and how I use this is this big square right here. This is good for 5 drawings. Okay, so I like to break things down into 5 because my theory is that if there's a lot of hits within these 5 drawings for this group of numbers, then maybe there won't be so many hits in the next 5 drawings, okay? Or vice versa. Okay, so another reason why I break it into 5 is because I could easily count down how many drawings there's been, okay? So I could say 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, and so on. Okay, so that's another reason why I like to break it into 5. Okay, so again, the overall strategy is to eliminate numbers. Okay, so for this drawing here, I'm going to guess that no 30 numbers will be coming up. Okay, and the reason why is because there's been a 30 number in the last 5 drawings here. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 drawings in a row. There's been a 30 number. Okay, so usually after 5 drawings in a row, usually it just cuts out and none of those numbers come up. So I'm just going to go with that. Okay, so I'm going to hope that no 30 numbers come up in the next drawing. So I'm going to eliminate the 30 numbers off of the game card. Okay, so I'm going to blow this back up. Okay, another thing that I use this, on how I use this, is I try to guess what the group of numbers will be coming up. Okay, so the last drawing had 4 groups. So you can see that 12 is in a group of its own, the teens, okay, and then the 30s, 50s, and there was 2 60s for 4, it hit 4 groups total. Okay, so for this drawing here, I'm going to guess that a 5 is going to come up. I think a 5 is going to be right here. Okay, so when I'm picking my numbers, I want it to represent 5 different groups here. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the game card. I'm going to scroll to the right. Okay, and this is what the game card looks like so far, with no blue numbers from the color code and now no 30 numbers from the individual numbers. Okay, so again, I'm betting $3 that none of those blue numbers will come up from the color code, and now I'm going to parlay that bet with saying that no 30 numbers are going to come up from the individual numbers. Okay, or I'm going to add to that bet saying that no 30 numbers will come up. Okay, so I'm going to be doing a bunch of parlays here, okay, really reducing the numbers, okay? So if I'm correct with my 2 picks here, okay, I'm 2 steps closer to that $2 million prize. Okay, so I'm off to the next strategy. Strategy number 3, picking the numbers I hope will miss from group 1. Okay, so what you're looking at here is what I call my group 1 numbers. Okay, so basically what I did is I took all the white ball numbers and I divided it into 4 different groups and I put colors to these groups. Okay, so when the Powerball numbers come up, I record where they land within these color groups down here in the stats. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the Powerball homepage, and again the 5 white winning numbers were the 12, the 30, the 59, the 65, and the 69. Okay, so when you look at this, okay, the 12 is in the red, okay, and the 65 is in the red. Okay, so down here in the red, you can see that I put a 2 down here, and that represents the 12 and the 65. Okay, so over in the blue area, a 30's here, so I put a 1 here in the blue. Okay, and in the orange, the 59 is here, so I put a 1 here in the orange. Okay, and the last one is the 69, and that's in the green, so I put a 1. Okay, so when all 5 numbers hit all 4 groups like this, I call that a row. Okay, so you can see that they're all red here, right across. Okay, so I have 15 of these option cards. So over here in option card number 2, you can see that there was no numbers that came up in the green area. So I put a 0 here. Okay, so the strategy is for this group 1 is try to guess where these zeros are going to pop up. Okay, so if I could have correctly guessed that none of these green numbers were going to come up in the last drawing, I could have eliminated all these green numbers and really reduced the numbers for myself. Okay, so the strategy is simple. Less numbers to choose from, the better. Okay, the better chances of getting the 5 white balls correct. Okay, so again, I have 15 of these option cards. Okay, and the reason why I have so many is because I want as many options as possible to try to guess where these zeros are going to pop up. Okay, so another thing about these rows as well is that once in a while these rows will double up, like right here. Okay, so I use this as a strategy as well. Okay, so I'm kind of thinking that there's going to be another row right here. Okay, so when I'm picking what I think will be the 5 white winning Powerball numbers, I want it to represent these 4 color groups. Okay, so if I come up with all the numbers and like there's no numbers here in the blue, then I probably won't go with those numbers. I'll probably re-look at things. Okay, so again, I have 15 of these option cards, and my first pick out of this is option card number 5, no green numbers. Okay, so this is what option card number 5 looks like. Okay, so all the option cards look the same as far as red, blue, orange, and green. It's just that the numbers that they represent are a little bit different from each other from each different option card. Okay, so again, I don't believe that any of these green numbers are going to come up in the next drawing, so I want to get rid of them. So I'm going to eliminate these green numbers off of the game card. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the game card. I'm going to scroll to the right. And you can read underneath group 1, option card number 5, no green numbers. Okay, so I eliminated all those green numbers. Okay, and hopefully I'm correct and none of those green numbers come up. All right, so I'm going to go back to group 1, and my next pick is going to be option card number 6, no green numbers. Okay, so I actually think out of all 15 of these option cards, I think that there's going to be a lot of green misses. Okay, so again, I'm looking at these green numbers right here. I don't believe that they're going to come up in the next drawing, so I want to get rid of them. So I'm going to eliminate these green numbers off of the game card. So I'm going to scroll to the right, and this is what the game card looks like so far. Okay, so if I'm correct with my picks here, okay, and none of the numbers that I pick that I think aren't going to come up, and none of them do come up, then that means that the 5 white winning Powerball numbers have to be within these numbers that are still lit up on the board. Okay, so I'm going to go back to group 1, and my next pick is option card number 7, no green numbers. Okay, so again, I don't think that any of these green numbers are going to come up, so I want to get rid of them. So I'm going to eliminate these green numbers from option card number 7 off of the game card. Okay, so I'm going to scroll to the right, and this is what the game card looks like so far. Okay, so you can see that I'm knocking these numbers off little by little, okay, step by step. Okay, I don't want to go hog wild and eliminate 3/4 of them all at once. Okay, so it's just tiny little steps here of eliminating just small groups of numbers. Okay, so again, what I'm doing here is I'm just keeping track of numbers, okay, and trying to predict whether they're going to come up or not come up in the next drawing of the lottery. Okay, so my next pick is group 1, option card number 8, no green numbers. Okay, so again, I think there's going to be lots of green misses here, so I'm going to eliminate all these green numbers here. Okay, so one more thing that I want to point out is before I showed you the 65, okay, that's where the 25 is supposed to be. Okay, so basically what happens here is the 25 and 65 share this square. Okay, so what that means is that if I get rid of all these numbers as a whole, I'm going to get rid of the 25 and the 65 as a group, along with the rest of these numbers. Okay, so as I go back to the game card here, you can see that the 25 is red and the 65 happens to be red as well. Okay, so the reason why I have these numbers off to the side here and this 25 is not crammed in with the 65 in this square is because of the color code. Okay, so sometimes this 25 could be green while the 65 is red, so I need some separation. Okay, so that's why I have it over here. Okay, so if I wanted to get rid of, like, let's say that the 65 was an orange number and the 25 was red, and I decided to get rid of all the orange numbers, I would get rid of the 65, but the 25 would still be in play. Okay, so again, I'm just keeping track of groups of numbers and trying to predict whether they're going to come up or not come up in the next drawing. Okay, so I'm going to go back to group 1. And my next pick is going to be, let me make sure I scrolled over here. Okay, I didn't. Okay, so this is option card number 8, no green numbers. So I got rid of all those green numbers. Okay, so now I'm going to go back, and now it's option card number 10, no blue numbers. Okay, so I'm going to scroll to the right, and here's the blue. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of these blue numbers here off of the game card. Okay, so now I'm going to scroll to the left. Okay, so you can read underneath group 1, option card number 10, no blue numbers, and you can see that all those blue numbers are gone. Okay, so I'm going to go back to group 1 for one last pick, and that's option card number 12, no red numbers. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of these red numbers off of the game card because I don't believe that they're going to come up. So I want to get rid of them. Okay, so I'm going to scroll to the left. And this is what the game card looks like so far. Okay, so again, if I'm correct with all my picks and none of those numbers come up that I say weren't going to come up, then the 5 white winning Powerball numbers have to be within these numbers that are still lit up on the board. Okay, so the key word there is if. Okay, if I'm correct. All right, so I'm all done picking from group 1. So now I'm off to the next strategy. Okay, so that's strategy number 4, picking the numbers I hope will miss from group 2. Okay, so what you're looking at here is what I call my group 2 numbers. Okay, so much like group 1, where I divided things into 4 different groups, here I divided things into 8 different groups. Okay, so again, there's only 5 white winning Powerball numbers. Okay, so 3 of these groups won't be able to have a winning Powerball number to it. Okay, so the strategy is try to guess which one of these groups won't have the winning Powerball number to it and eliminate that group of numbers off of the game card. Okay, so how I use this is I'm going to point out this red area right here. These are the stats for the red area. Okay, so you can see this 0. That means that none of the 5 white winning Powerball numbers landed in this red area. And the 2 right here means that 2 out of the 5 white winning Powerball numbers landed in this red area. Okay, so here I like to keep track of every 5 drawings. And I do it because it shows me a majority of things. Okay, so when there's 3 or more zeros, I color this blue for cold. If there's 3 or more hits, I color it red for hot. So as I go down through the history of things, okay, you can see that this got really hot here, okay, and then it got kind of cold. So this is what random looks like, okay, because this represents 9 numbers, okay, there's 8 squares here, but the 25 and 65 share this square, so it represents 9 numbers total, okay, so because there's so many other numbers here, it just can't stay hot all the time. Eventually it's going to miss and it's going to be cold. Okay, so again, this is what random looks like. Okay, so if it's been really hot, well, eventually it's going to turn cold and vice versa. Okay, so my first pick is going to be option card number 1, no purple numbers. Okay, so here's the stats for the purple. Okay, and as I go down through, you can see that things got really hot here. Okay, then they cooled off, and now they got really hot, so now I think it's going to cool off again. And I think that there's going to be a 0 right here. Okay, so if that 0 comes up, that means that none of these purple numbers are going to come up in the next drawing. Okay, so I hope that happens because I'm going to eliminate all these purple numbers off of the game card. Okay, so I'm going to scroll to the left. And you can read underneath group 2, option card number 1, no purple numbers. So you can see that there's no purple numbers right here. Okay, so I'm going to go back to group 2. And my next pick is option card number 2, no orange numbers. Okay, so I have 15 of these option cards as well. And they all kind of look the same as well as far as red, blue, orange, green, purple, brown, gray, yellow. Again, it's just the numbers that they represent are a little bit different from each other from each different option card. Okay, so I don't think any orange numbers are going to come up. So here's the stats for the orange, and that represents these numbers right here. Okay, so as I head down through, it's kind of like a 50-50 type thing. Okay, it's kind of equal number of hot and cold. Okay, so I just think that this is going to be cold. All right, so I'm going to eliminate these orange numbers off of the game card. And hopefully none of these orange numbers will come up. Okay, so as I go to the game card, I'm going to scroll to the left. And this is what the game card looks like so far. And again, you can see that there's no orange numbers right here. Okay, so I'm going to go back to group 2. My next pick is going to be option card number 6, no gray numbers. Okay, so here's option card number 6. Okay, here's the stats for the gray. So as I head down through, see that things got a little bit hot here. Okay, kind of 50-50 back and forth, but I just think that it's going to be a 0 right here. So I'm going to eliminate these gray numbers off of the game card. Okay, so I'm going to scroll down, and underneath, you can read option card number 6, no gray numbers. Okay, so I'm really getting down there now, but I'm going to go back for one more. And that's option card number 11, no orange numbers. Okay, so here's option card number 11. Okay, here's the orange. And as I head down through, you can see that things got wicked hot through here. Okay, and now I just think it's going to cool off. So I think there's going to be a 0 right here. Okay, so I want to eliminate what's left of these orange numbers off of the game card. And I think the only one left is the 41. Okay, so you can see this 41, and as I scroll to the right, you can see that the 41 is gone. Okay, so I'm all done eliminating numbers. Okay, so I started off with 69 white ball numbers, and now I'm down to, I got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 numbers total left. Okay, so again, if I made all the correct picks, then the 5 white winning Powerball numbers will be one of these numbers that are still highlighted on the board here. Okay, so when I first started this, probably about 2 years ago, I eliminated the numbers down to 10 numbers, and the 5 white winning Powerball numbers landed within those 10 still left on the board. Okay, so that's when I really thought that I had something here. Okay, it really gave me a better chance at winning. Okay, so but I then created the next strategy. Okay, and I'm gonna go to strategy number 5, the 50-50 picks. Okay, so what you're looking at here is what I call the 50-50 picks. So again, there's 5 white winning Powerball numbers. Okay, so there's got to be a majority of either odd numbers or even numbers, or numbers to the high side or numbers to the low side. Okay, so after those 5 picks, after when I eliminated the numbers down to 10 and all 5 numbers landed within those 10 numbers, I only picked 2 correct. Okay, so again, this is where I came up with the 50-50 picks, because I wanted to try to guess what the majority would be to really pinpoint what I think what numbers will be coming up. Okay, so how this works is over here to this left, this 251. This represents how many color code, how many drawings I kept track of so far. Okay, and out of this 251 drawings, 127 drawings have come up the majority of odd numbers. Okay, 124 have come up the majority of even numbers. Okay, so here I like to keep track of every 5 drawings as well. Okay, because I want to see the majority as well here. Okay, so in this last 5 drawings, you can see that the majority of drawings were odd numbers. Okay, and I put down what the ratio was. Okay, so it was odds 3 drawings to 2. Okay, so as I go down, you can see that it was odds 4 to 1, odds 4 to 1. Okay, so eventually it's going to turn evens at some point, you know. But for this drawing here, what I did is I reduced it down to the 7 numbers here, but unfortunately there's only 2 even numbers. Okay, there's only 2 numbers to the right side. Okay, there's only 2 numbers to the top side. Okay, so really the 50-50 picks aren't really working for me for this drawing. Okay, because there's no majority left on the board really. Okay, so over here I do have something for the Powerball number itself. Okay, and that's that red ball number right here. All right, so in this column here, if you see a blue number, then that means that it's a low number, 1 to 13. Okay, and there's 26 red ball numbers, 26 red ball numbers total. Okay, so if you see a red ball number, okay, a red number, then that means it's high, 14 to 26. Okay, so over in this column, if you see a red number, then that means it's an odd number, and if you see a blue number, it means that it's even. Okay, so now I just kind of look at the colors. Okay, so you can see that there's a long line of blue colors here. Okay, so I just think that the next one's going to be red, which means that I think it's going to be an odd number. Okay, and I think that this one's going to be blue, so I think it's going to be a low odd number. Okay, so as I go back to the game card here, I'm going to scroll to the right. And with the 50-50 picks, I couldn't really pick anything because there's no majority to pick from. Okay, so I'm going to go to my next strategy. Strategy number 6, picking the numbers I hope will hit from groups 1 and 2. Okay, so here I'm just going to use group 2. Okay, so again, I have 15 of these option cards, and they all look the same as far as red, blue, orange, green, purple, brown, gray, yellow. Again, it's just that the numbers that they represent are a little bit different from each other, from each different option card. Okay, so as I scroll down through, you can see that, again, they're all the same as red, blue, orange, green, and so on. Okay, so basically what I'm trying to say here is that there's 15 red areas, okay, 15 blue, and so on. Okay, so as I get back to option card number 1 here, so what I do is I keep track of all 15 option cards as a group. Okay, so I keep that in here, and I call that the group 2 overview. Okay, so this is the group 2 overview right here. Okay, so out of all 15 of those red areas, there was 10 hits and 5 misses throughout those 15 option cards. Okay, so 10 and 5 equal 15. Okay, so the magic number here is 8. If there's 8 or more hits, I color this red for hot. If there's 8 or more misses, I color it blue for cold. Okay, so now again, I could just look at the colors. All right, so if I see a bunch of colors of one color right in a row, okay, when I look at the history of things, that hardly ever happens. Okay, so usually they just bounce back and forth. So you just try to guess what the next color is going to be. Okay, so for this drawing here, I think there's going to be a lot of red hits. Okay. And I think that there's going to be a lot of green hits as well. Okay, so I expect this area to be red, and I expect this area to be red as well. Okay, so as I head back to the game card here and scroll to the right, what you're looking at here is this is option card number 1, number 2, all the way down to 15. Okay, so when I go to option card number 1, I want to see what's left on this board that matches up with this option card number 1. Okay, so here's option card number 1. Here's the red numbers. So I want to see what matches up. And as I go down through, it's the 25, the 57, and the 65. And you can see that I wrote that down right here for option card number 1. Okay, so I think there's going to be a lot of green hits as well. So as I go back and look at the green area, I want to see what's left. And the only one thing that's left is the 12. So I wrote that 12 down here. Okay, so I did that with all 15 option cards. Okay, so now I just need to pick out the numbers that make sense, where it's going to give me lots of hits in the red area and lots of hits in the green area. Okay, so I'm off to the next strategy. Strategy number 7, picking my numbers. Okay, so I'm just going to scroll down here. And the numbers that I'm going to go with for this drawing are the 3, the 12, the 25, the 57, and the 63. Okay, so for this drawing here, okay, because of how the numbers are aligned, okay, with this combination of numbers, that's going to give me 12 hits and 3 misses in that red area. Okay, so as I go back to the Group 2 overview, again, I expect this to be a 12 and this to be a 3. And that would be, of course, red. Okay, so for the green, this combination of numbers will give me 10 hits and 5 misses. Okay, so again, in the Group 2 overview here, in the green area, I expect that to be a 10, just like right down here. 10 hits, 5 misses. Okay, so again, the numbers that I'm going to go with are the 3, 12, 25, 57, and 63. Okay, so I thought it was, I was thinking it was going to be a 4 color group from the color code. Okay, but I changed my mind on that. I think it's going to be a 2. I think 2 colors are going to come up. Okay, so you can see that the 3 is green, the 12 is red, the 25 is red, the 57 is green, and the 63 is red. So that will give me 2 colors total. Okay, but when it comes to the individual numbers, I still think that this is going to be a 5. So I want it to represent 5 different groups. Okay, so 3 is in a group, 12 is in a separate group, 25 is in a separate group, 57 is in a separate group, and the 63 is in its own group. So that's 5 different groups, so I like that. Okay, so again, the numbers that I think will be coming up are the 3, 12, 25, 57, and 63. Okay, folks, if you're interested in my game to pick your own numbers, okay, I can't really guarantee that you're going to win anything. It's just really a fun way of picking your numbers. Of course, the odds of getting just all 5 white balls correct are 1 in nearly 12 million. Okay, so again, I can't guarantee that you'll win anything. It's just a fun way to pick your numbers. Okay, so if you're interested in my game, you can go to my website at www.patreon.com/decoding the Powerball. Okay, or you could email me at decodingpowerball@gmail.com. Okay, and that's my personal email. Okay, again, that's decodingpowerball@gmail.com. All right, folks, I really appreciate you watching. If you like the content of my channel, then please subscribe. Okay, and the jackpot's getting big, so I want to wish you the best of luck when you're picking your own numbers. All right, folks, again, thanks for watching.